Hopefully this is live. I think it is. I'm not too worried about it. This is the next episode of my channel. I'm going to take it real easy. I'm not going to overthink it. I want to focus on a couple of topics today. As you can tell by the title, I would like it to be about the ways that I, over the years, have developed methods to sort Lego, store Lego, and separate, well, I don't want to say separate in a negative way, but create a more organized environment for those who want and need that to feel more clear-headed and focused for their creative desires, because some people like a kind of a chaotic space, and some people like really clean and organized, and that's totally fine. I love all that. But for me, I tend to think my creativity comes most when I've got a lot of things organized, and it's not as like bulk as that. So this is something I want to show off right off the bat. Okay, bulk Lego. We're going to be talking a bit about bulk Lego here in a bit. And so for me, this is going to be harder for me to just get creative with than if I've got a lot of things already organized. And that's a perfect little segue to go into some of the smaller and small to medium-sized containers that I like to utilize for this process. Not all of these, so there's going to be a little bit of a diversity in the items that I use. So some things are very cheap and recyclable, which I love. Those are my actual favorites, because it's not just because I got them for free, but it's because they actually tend to have a very awesome nature to them that I adore, which is no labeling and very clear, so you can see exactly what's inside of them. We'll get a bit more on this in a minute, because these are such an awesome thing, and there's so much stuff like this that gets used every single day in everybody's lives. They'll end up just in the trash, recycled, or forgotten about, and it's going to be your #1 asset for a low budget, almost free Lego sorting situation. So that's that. I want to start small to big, and that's kind of how I wanted to do. That was kind of what I was thinking of beforehand. One of the smallest things that I use to compartmentalize, you're going to hear me use that a lot, because I like to have things compartmentalized. I've got different items in different areas, elements, specifically Lego, as you can tell, from all the sizes, from common to very rare, unique, all the different things. So let's just dive into it. I have, one of my favorite things to use are these kind of, sorry if I'm not getting these centered enough, still kind of new to all this, but fishing tackle boxes is what these are technically called. You can find these in all kinds of places. They're actually super popular nowadays, and you'll find them in places such as Michael's, Joann Fabrics, and all kinds of different places like that, Hobby Lobby, because they're even sold as like bead. I'm pretty sure this one is specifically designed for beads, and I was able to get a hold of this pretty nicely. In the future, I'll start talking about all of the different individual elements, but I just don't think I have the time for that today. I really want to focus on the containers. Small elements, very small and unique elements. So you're like, you get overwhelmed. This is a great place for those, okay? These are very cheap, and a lot of times you can find these for even cheaper at garage sales, retail or resale stores like Value Village, Goodwill, etc. There's tons of those places. We all know those, and those are our favorite places for Lego and hobby collectors of the sorts. So those were some of the small ones I have that were more probably focused for beads and more, not as serious fisherman tackle boxes, but then we've got these bigger ones that are straight up from like Cabela's and some of your more popular sporting goods stores. I got these from a hobby collector individual of mine years ago, and ultimately these all really started it all for me because it gave me the ability to get some of my stuff organized, and I can see what I have and then get creative. I can think about the things I want to do and get creative. This is one of my favorite ones. We'll talk about that one more in the future. This one is cool. All of these are ever changing. They never stay the same because as you get more pieces and then the spots get filled up, you'll need another container to kind of upsize those. Pretty standard stuff. Oh my goodness, let's not do that. Getting a little crazy here. That's just all part of it, right? Oh man, I did a good thing there. Okay, let's not do that. Don't put stuff under the camera jig. That's gonna mess everything up. I still suck at editing, so that's why you're gonna see a lot of this stuff is just raw footage, because that's what I like to do. I'm not trying to mess around with that. This is what I'm here for, is to show off some cool stuff and be myself. I'll edit it out later when I get better at that in the future. You all know how it works. Now, this is another one of my favorite ones. All foliage and plant-like matter. I love it. You can really get a good sense of what's going on there. We'll take more looks at that in the future. And there's several more that I kind of want to, I don't think I want to open these ones up because they're just kind of, you know, this one's really focused on car elements, pretty straightforward. And then I actually have so much car elements that this one hardly gets used anymore, and I need to almost take this whole thing apart and do something else with it. And then this is one of my kind of favorites. I guess I'll pop this one up for 2 seconds. It's just a bunch of weird and special old kind of medium to large elements that are unique. I have another spot for these kinds of things that are super cool, and this is, I think this is a perfect example of an excellent usage of something like this, where you've got all these random elements, and there's not really a good place for them. You don't want to put them in here. This is too big. This is perfect. See, I've got stretchers and dice and really weird things in here that aren't going to have a home on their own. In my head, because you know, I like to have things all having a home for the most part, because that just keeps me really organized. So I'm just stacking up all these again because I've got a small little spot that holds all these. I'll do more of a bigger tour of all of this stuff in time. A lot of stuff happening. But I'm just going to keep moving. So those, we went through those. Another thing I want to touch on really quickly in the small category of things is the Acro Mills brand. You're going to hear that a lot from Lego sorters and stuff like that. It's pretty much just these little guys. I don't want to move the camera right now, but it's these big modulars that have a ton of these little drawers, and it gives you a whole world of convenience to work with. So I'm just going to give you a little example. Don't worry about that. That's for all kinds of different things. So this is a small one. This is a really small one because I go to, you know, different places and look for these and try to buy them up, because these are super helpful for specifically sorting Lego and any kind of hobbies that you need to have things sorted. Yeah, these are really common. Most people know about these things, but in the sorting hobby community, but just showing them off because of how excited I am about them and useful they are to me. And so what I was just mentioning before, oops, spilling Lego everywhere, that's fine. Much bigger of these. The ones I'm talking about, the Acro Mills, are much bigger, and they have tons of units. I've got ones that are just these small ones, and then ones that are just these medium ones, and that is super helpful. Trying to figure out what I spilt here. Doesn't look like anything too important. So we're going to get this back away before any more spillage happens. Lego spills are inevitable, so we will hopefully not have too many of those on camera. Moving forward, Acro Mills. We talked about those. Um, there's a lot of brands that have really excellent quality products that are going to be so good for you. This one, these little kind of stack on plastic containers, they come from a company that I can't think of the name of right now, but they're pretty common to find in all kinds of sizes and such. And they're also relatively cheap and can also be found even cheaper at places like mentioned before, Goodwill, Value Village, and retail stores. Um, so another one that's kind of a no-brainer is the brand called Sterilite or Sterilite. I don't really know. I can't remember. But they're really good, and Rubbermaid, of course. Really great brands that have these kind of modular drawers. Again, the drawer modulars are just so convenient. I have a bunch of them, but you can't really see them. I wonder if you could just, there we go. You can just see the tip of the drawers here from under the table there. And I have tons of them, tons of these drawers all lined up down here, which is actually kind of cool. So you can see some of that stuff now. But these are actually some medium-sized ones that I'm talking about, and I have a ton of smaller ones right down here, but they're all wedged and they're really tight. I don't want to get those out right now. But just look those up. Look up the brand Sterilite drawers. Find those at Walmart, especially for super cheap relatively, and then, you know, they're all over. Super easy to find. And they're just modular drawer units, and then you can be used for office supplies normally, but really perfect for Lego. And then moving forward into some of the stuff that is my favorite, back to what I was talking about with this guy, things you can get on a day-to-day basis that are almost free because they are recycled by someone or something in your life that just kind of goes over your head, or just no, you just didn't really think about it. Like, hey, so and so really likes olives, and once a week they go to the store and they get themselves these fancy olives, and then they throw their thing away, and you know, that's just part of their life. That's fine. But you noticed this container is perfect for sorting Lego, or just being a temporary holder, because when I'm going through this, I need little spots to throw a few items temporarily, like I did here. I've got my 1x2 jumpers, 2x2 jumpers, and some of those 2x2 reverse tiles. And so just to kind of keep things modularized as I sort, and you can already see that here as well, which we're going to go into tons more of that right about now, quite honestly. But so there's tons of these that I've gotten for free over the years at working at different restaurants. I worked at a pizza restaurant for many years, and I was able to acquire these very awesome ricotta cheese buckets. And there's also another one that you can't quite tell because it doesn't have the label on the outside. They're just a little bit bigger, which I really like because I've got kind of a medium and then a little bit bigger one. But these bigger ones were actually goat cheese buckets. And of course, I didn't just take them right away. You know, they weren't filled with cheese and I just stuck Lego in there, of course. You wouldn't do that. I spent some real time cleaning and restoring them to a relatively brand new state. So I don't have to worry about my Lego being contaminated with any kind of food or smells of that nature. I do, for a lot of things like this that you'll see here in just a moment, I use a pretty serious method of isopropyl alcohol, hot soapy water baths, and all that to make sure that, and I let it air out. I do for a long time to make sure that some of the juices, because I'll start showing off now, hold different things such as herbs and peppered or pickled products. So let's move forward. These are some of my absolute favorite containers. They're these medium tall, semi slender, but rectangular, which makes them super easy to stack all together in a row in a tight space, like in a drawer. And then, and these if you can believe it, were again from my days in the pizza restaurant. They were filled with different herbs, such all the different weird herbs that were used for prep cooking different food that was for the restaurant. And so many of these were thrown away every day. And since I've loved Lego my whole life, and I always keep my eye out. That's something that you want to do, is keeping your eye out. If you want to do this kind of thing, you keep your eye out, and you're always looking for, oh my goodness, look at this container. It's going to be so perfect. Some people might think you're weird collecting trash and things like that. Don't let them affect you. You've got a project that you want to do, and this is a really good way to do it. Sometimes these will have stickers on there. I might do an episode on how I restore these containers, if that's ever interesting to anyone, because I have a pretty serious sticker peeling method. Because if you try to rip a sticker off, you're gonna make your life 2 times as worse. And if you go slow and steady, you'll get it off without any residue, or ripping the top half off. But if you rip it, you're gonna be a nightmare mode. But that's for another day, another story. So kind of a couple of medium small ones I really like. Let's throw in one more, 2 of those. What that kind of cylindrical one was used for, I literally can't remember all of a sudden. I think these were candies. Yeah, candy, like bougie store-bought candy are going to be in things like that. Another one that is one of my favorites. You're going to start to see some of the elements that I have compartmentalized now in these containers. So this is that weird, funky foliage element that we all know. I can never remember the name of it if it has one, but this one's almost maxed out, so I'm going to have to upgrade this one soon enough. But I like this shape. Again, can a candy holder, kind of a, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of a hexagonal sized thing. And again, not cylindrical, but see, you're going to see that. It's kind of hard. There's no way to... I like them both. The square and the circles, I like them both. Obviously, the squares will get more tight into one space, but I have actually noticed, and if we ever go in there with the camera, that the circle ones actually fit quite well together with this technique, as you can see here, kind of me demonstrate here, where you do this kind of move. See that? Where you put the circles inside, not like that, but like that. And you can actually get a lot more into a space like that. But yeah, that's for another day, for another story. Another story for another day. Let's keep this going. I want to show off a couple more of these in action, even though we saw these already. Once they're ready to go, I keep the lid, of course, because if and when it comes time to move, and it's time to move this Lego situation, I want to be able to snap and lock. You know, it's boom, this thing's locked and loaded, and now this is done. It's done. I can do whatever. But now anytime I need a 1x2 micro grate, they're ready to go in my drawers for artistic detailing and creativity. I've got a couple right there, and here we go, right into their home. Bam. That's that. I'm going to pop that back open because I like to keep them open in the drawer because I'm constantly putting stuff in there. It's a never-ending process. For those who know what I'm about to say, it's a little inside secret, a little inside joke with the Lego community and the Lego brand as a whole, but it's called forever sorting. And I absolutely love that. We'll talk about that again some other time. 1x2 tiles. Super, so cool. I love it. Just kind of having these containers ready to go. And eventually things will change here, so maybe you'll be able to see all of these lined up behind me and that type of stuff, but that's for the future, of course. So look at that. I'm glad that we can kind of see a little bit of that there. That's why I did the camera thing, because like this, I know some people are going to hate this, it's going to be jarring or whatever, but I did this so you can kind of see. Look at that. I've got all those lined up. Every single one of those is an individual element. And then we've got the bigger ones in the back here, which is what I want to show you next. I just want to put these away first. And these are the medium-sized ones, the cylindrical medium-sized ones that are absolutely crazy and absolutely perfect for holding medium, large, bulk elements. This is my 1x2 plates. Okay. And it just has such a perfect nature to it. I love so much about it. I can't describe. Where it's focused on the element inside by having nothing on the outside. Like I prefer not having. That's why I really like these kind of containers, because they're not like labeled with a brand or anything like that. It's not like some of these containers you'll see will have a molded logo in them and such. Totally worth using. Totally worth using. For me, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, if you can't already tell. So I really like these for the nature that it doesn't distract you at all from what's inside. But when you look at this, you're just kind of mesmerized by the fact that it is a boatload of 1x2 plates. And let's just take a look at one or two more of those before we move forward. We've got one for 2x2s. That'll be the next one up, obviously. Kind of some basic elements, but let's just grab something that's super cool. I made this one specifically for all gear and pulley related elements. So just all my gears and pulleys, and even like the worm gear and the gear plate. A lot of fun stuff in there we'll get to use in the future. So just a few more of the containers I want to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot of Tupperware that can be used that comes at a cheap cost. And then I want to just talk about one more of these cool containers, a larger container that I, of course, again, obtained from my time in the pizza and restaurant industry. You can see a little bit more of a drawer there. It's going to close on its own, which is kind of nice. But this is it. This is the largest one of these containers that I utilize. It has a handle and everything, which is obviously a huge plus. And then it's rectangular in shape, so I can get the most out of its space-wise in terms of once it gets filled, they get bulked up, and I kind of keep them in another area off the side. And I'll show you those in just a second. But this is just super cool because it's all the 1x2s that I am actively filling up, because I've already filled one of these up completely. And so we're going to continue to be doing this with all of the base elements, trying to, get a foundation of elements to work with. This is obviously more than you need. I get a little crazy with it because I really do intend to make some quite large and significant builds in time. And then this is a fun, I just like to show this off. I can't believe I've actually filled up 2 of these already, of the 2x2 brick. Every one of these is double checked, is legitimately a Lego brick. All nice, they're all clean, because I have a bag, I have a toss bag for dirty elements. When I'm sorting through and it's too dirty, or gunked up, it goes into a bag to the side, and then I'll end up cleaning those in the future. And then, so we're just going to keep going for a while here. We've been going for about 30 minutes now. I was thinking about making this about an hour live stream. We'll see if we can make it to there. We've covered most of the recyclable containers that are easy to obtain and cheap to almost free. Let us proceed. As you might be able to see here just out of camera, I'll just bring it out. So this is an example of a kind of a Tupperware that I found really useful, rectangular. And then I kind of realized these long pillar rectangular elements will be perfect for this, because it also takes up the most area inside this. And I just noticed, or remembered something that I want to talk about at the beginning, but I neglected to remember. There is a huge difference between element sorting, which is what I'm doing here, and color sorting, which is another thing that's predominantly done in Lego when it comes to sorting and compartmentalizing elements for more free thinking creativity. Um, there's no right or wrong. There's never a right or wrong in Lego. One of my favorite quotes I've ever heard from one of the community members is my Lego, my rules. Because a lot of Lego people know, that, and it's kind of fun to have them, that there's these rules or laws. You know, we've all seen that meme that's like, you know, we're going to do an illegal, we're breaking the law with the Lego, and then, you know, we're going to get called out for it. That's not necessarily true um, because, again, it's about your creativity and bringing something to life that you think is super cool, and rules don't matter when it comes to Lego. And that's what I believe in. And more or less the my Lego, my rules aspect, because everyone can have their own kind of creative twists on how to do things that might not fit into the norm of the Lego system, is what they call it. But that's totally okay, because that's what I think is so cool about Lego as well, is there's that system, but at the same time, you can think outside of the box at any time and do things that may have never been seen before. Let us segue from there. Um, I guess we're going into the second half now, which is nice because we talked about, with the title being how, what containers are going to be best used for this type of situation when you want to sort Lego and get into a more organized state of mind. I really like these utensil and or office organizing trays as another really nice passive. It's not a permanent, it's a temporary holding Lego space. And so that's a cool little note that I think I mentioned earlier, but let's focus on that now a little bit more. Is there's temporary and permanent Lego homes. You know, this is a temporary home. I've got these buckets. I'm still trying to, a lot of these are going to be sorted out into their homes. And then these two are actually, these are already the way I want them to be, but I need to upgrade them into a larger size. And then they can go back where I need them to go. Because these are already pure in terms of, or like not, I don't want to say that word pure, because there's nothing pure. All of the specific elements that I want to have in here, which is the large curve and the small curve bricks. So that's the only things that are in here, and those are going to be a home of their own. And then this same type of thing as this. These are all of the hinges, is what they call it. It's the brick hinge and the plate hinge. So those are those. But then these are all actually still a small project that I need to dump out and go through and separate them even further, and then they'll go into their all respective places. Same with the things like these. These are just like some funky things I have on the side that are kind of like when you go through these hauls, bulk Lego, which is what we're going to be getting into very shortly, is how to handle bulk Lego. That is the bottom line of a lot of what we're getting into, is with the containers. This is where it comes down to, is this right here. Bulk. Simpson, have you been going to Costco lately? Because you've got bulk. I love that one. But when we're dealing with bulk, there's, again, no one way and no one right or wrong way, and it's real. Everyone's going to find their own methods. But I want to introduce some of my methods that help me flow through bulk Lego and get me to where I want to be, which is organized and ready to be creative. Let me just give myself a retrain of thought, show off a couple more items. Here are some things that are I really like these little kind of wood bowls. These are not anything you're going to get a hold of for free, obviously. I spend a few dollars on these because I really enjoy the nature of these. I will actually name drop someone really quick, but I learned a long time ago from someone in the community, Jang Bricks, a real legend. But it's nice to have items that have a curved or beveled internal surface like this. It's not a 45-degree angle. It is curved so that when I've got a square in here up against there, I can curve it right out like that. Obviously that was a fail, but you get the point. And that's why I really like these, because of that curved nature. It's not going to fall out of there relatively, but when I need it, I can pull it right out and it's not going to be a problem. So these are really nice. I've got lots of stuff like these. I love this wood stuff because it just has a nice aesthetic to it. This is a fancy teak tray I got from a antique place a long time ago because I couldn't live without it. I just love this type of thing, and this is like my main Lego throw tray for random elements that I want to get out of my face, but I don't want to forget about right now. And that's kind of a nice, that's one of my tricks, is when you're going through and you're getting things done here, and you find a piece that you're like, I don't know how to deal with this right now, like this. This is a golden, really cool golden element. I love these. I've got a place for these, but it's way up there in a thing, and I'm not trying to get that out right now. So I'm just going to throw it right here with a purple one that I see already right here. Look at that. I got a purple one right here. Just found a gold one. I'm going to stick it right there. I can deal with that later. That was a perfect example and usage of this tray. I'm so happy. And again, with this type of thing, it's going to be perfect for that. And that is I want to mention something over here. Another thing, I love this one a lot. You're going to love this. Maybe some people are going to think it's weird. Ice trays. Okay, ice trays are so cool because you can. It doesn't even. It's just. I don't need to say anymore. It does itself. These are some very interesting egg holders I found one time, and I thought these were very nice. These are like you'd put a dozen or a half dozen eggs in there, and you put them in your fridge. Don't eat a lot of eggs, so boom, gonna use these for Lego. I rarely use these. Probably should use them for eggs. But, you know, you get the picture. I like having things ready to go. Again, what's really cool, there's that brand, Sterilite, I mentioned earlier. Sterilite makes so many cool things, from drawers to ice cube trays, and all of which can be used for Lego. It's awesome. So there's that. Ice trays are amazing. One of the first steps as we segue into the bulk, is again that, you know, you identify what you want to do, and that brings me back to my train of thought, which is nice. There's a lot of things you want to consider when you start sorting your bulk Lego for your future endeavors. Space, time and commitment, and overall, how much Lego do you have? And then what feels most comfortable to you, because this is not about me. I want to share some of my techniques, and then y'all can find your rhythm with whatever it is you're doing with Lego, of course. Now, as you can see it here and there, I'm grabbing elements and kind of throwing them and putting them places because I can't help myself. So if you're a color sorter, that's pretty straightforward. It doesn't need to be explained. You sort it by color. Okay? Boom. When you get to another level, or if you ever desire to start sorting Lego on a much more technical level, which is what I am focused on here, which is really what I am going to be focusing on for those people. I don't have a whole lot to offer for color sorters. per se in terms of techniques. There's actually going to be some techniques you'll be able to use 100%, no problem. And then, of course, the containers. But I'm going to be mentioning some techniques here that are really kind of focused in on individual item sorting here in just a few minutes. I appreciate y'all's patience with me doing this kind of video because I'm still new to this, but I'm so excited and focused on just wanting to get this stuff out there that I'm not worried about the editing and any of that type of stuff. Editing will come in the future, and a lot of these videos I make will be redone. The first thing I want to talk about when sorting out bulk Lego is the breakdowns. Let's just say this was a full haul that was brand new. I just got it. I haven't touched it. I have actually gone through this quite a lot. That's why you can kind of see a pretty interesting general thing going on here. Almost all the elements are relatively the same size, and there's not a lot of things. I mean, obviously you're going to find a few here and there that are not. Almost everything is broken down already, and because I've already taken the time to sort out in the this is always the first step for me. So if you're interested in this, listen up. The first step in a bulk haul is pulling out these large items that are already pre-built and setting these aside, because there's a lot of things to be said about that. As you go through a haul, you might actually identify a set that's like, oh my goodness, this is from a set, it's almost completely built. I can set this aside and rebuild this and complete the set, because that's something I'm really passionate about. I haven't really mentioned that yet at all, but rebuilding and remastering or restoring, whatever you want to call it, original sets, or any set for that matter, from a broken down, deconstructed state that's just been kind of thrown to the side and forgotten about, and then I bring it back to life. I'm going to give you a tiny example of that really quick. For those of you who love Lego and love the Lego movies, this one is super special to me because they're super hard to get a hold of now, and I got the double-decker couch because I was going through a bulk haul and I saw this broken down, and it was like partially deconstructed, a lot of little mini pieces were missing, no minifigures, etc., but I knew immediately what it was. I knew immediately what it was, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is that, I know what this is. So I pulled this to the side, and then eventually I got around to completely restoring it. So this is 100% plus some extra flair that I added on there, as you can tell. I don't know if that's focusing, I'm so sorry. But I did a little Easter egg with the red cup. There always has to be a red cup. Gave him a waffle, all that. So I'm so sorry if that's not focusing very well. Wanted to get a good look. There it is. Yay. Okay, enough of that. So that's a great reason to do this. And then in the time, you're going to break these down and continue the process. And then it kind of goes from there. Again, I like to do a large to small technique where I'm going to be going through and grabbing the larger elements that stick out. And I already did that step really mostly here. You've got your bricks, your base bricks. They always really stick out. They're large and they're basic and they stick out. Boom, you just kind of get up in there, and I'm going to just do a quick wave of that really quick. Where I'm going to grab a couple of handfuls of the base brick, because that's just a little example I want to do here. And I think a lot of it's already kind of got out of here. And I like to do 1x bricks and 2x bricks in their own category, obviously, because I'm crazy. And so, because I've already got a lot of the bigger pieces, it really only leaves the smaller bricks, like these 2x2s. And I apologize if the Lego goes over my voice. I'm still trying to get a little bit of that down. and or if the sound of the Lego is too jarring, I apologize. But everybody knows Lego is that sound. That's the sound of Lego. But yeah, as all you're seeing, I'm literally struggling to find more brick because I've already gotten most of it out of there. And so I keep grabbing like this. This is a curved brick. So Lego has very strict and set names for every single element. I use a lot of those, but I also come up with my own terms to help me stay clear with what I'm doing and the elements that I am interacting with. And I hope a lot of y'all will get familiar with those so you know what I'm talking about. And it's all pretty straightforward stuff. So like I just mentioned, this is the kind of thing I wanted to, this is why I just said that, is these are bricks in my mind. But let's get a better example. There we go. They have two distinguishing differences about them. One has a curve and one has a straight slope, or curved slope and a straight slope. That is the only difference that these have in my mind. So everything that has a curved slope is going into one place. I have a whole drawer down here that's literally filled to the rim like brim. I need to change this or level this up in a sense because it's too full. That's all the curved bricks. And then right here, as you can see, is my huge tub of straight slope bricks and or elements. Like this is a really weird element, but it has that straight slope there, and I'm not going to try to deal with putting this anywhere else. It has a straight slope. It has that Lego texture that we all know and love on that straight slope surface. And that texture is almost another thing that makes these straight slopes relative in my mind. So if I see that texture, boom, it's getting grabbed and it's going right into the same pile. And there's tons of these everywhere. So this is something that I'm going to spend a lot of time sorting out as an individual item. I'm only going to be looking for straight slopes or anything that has that texture. Boom, boom, boom. And that is a very common element. And so if you just stay focused on that for a few minutes, you're going to get a lot done really rapidly because, again, it's very common and etc., all the different things. So there's that. They all go in there. Those are pretty much the two main techniques that start the whole process. As I'm going, a lot of more little things are happening along the way where I will identify, like I said, a drawer is full and needs to be upgraded. So I need to get one of these out and get a new home for an element. I need to identify if a piece is really worth my time. I'm glad I'm mentioning on this. This is another big step. So like this is a textured brick. The textured bricks have a variety of different styles. Both of these, in my mind, are textured bricks and are going to go in the same place. Some things in my mind are really worth keeping, and then some things are like, okay, we're going to kind of let those go into another environment or another place, and then if they get messed with or damaged, it's really not that big a deal. So the first thing I notice that comes to mind are these couple of reverse tiles that have a couple of stickers on them. Now these stickers are honestly pretty cool, but the first thing I notice about these stickers is they're not aligned the way I would like them to be aligned. And it's just kind of it's a perfectionist thing. Yes, you don't need to do this type of stuff. But for me, if it's not aligned, it automatically is kind of like that's a Lego sticker element that I'm not really going to worry that much about. And so I have I have a whole drawer over here of Lego elements that have stickers on them. It's literally just an entire drawer that have a sticker on it that I don't personally love, or it's not like 100% aligned, boom, it's going in that drawer. So if I ever need it or want it, or I need this element that has stickers, boom, it's right there. But for example, that's a print. This is a perfect example of a sticker that I actually really like, and it's not necessarily aligned perfectly, but its edges, the edges of the sticker are not going over the edge of the brick, creating an inevitable flap that will remove the sticker at some point in the life. And I'm even trying to like slide the sticker down a little bit. I wouldn't suggest doing that. But this is a great one because you can't even tell because it's a brown sticker on a brown 2x4 tile. And so this is perfect. This is a keeper. I'm going to put this in a space that's like my good stickers that I like that I'm going to use for creative builds and stuff like that. And that also kind of brings me into prints. Anyone who does Lego has a little bit of an obsession with Lego prints, where it is a printed element. I almost want to start doing this because I have these trays. I should start doing this. It's kind of nice. Printed elements that are super cool, and that's that simple. Printed elements have an image on them that cannot be removed unless it's scratched or damaged, and it has so much more of a just authentic feel that's really hard to describe. It feels like it's an actual Lego element as opposed to a Lego element that has a sticker on it. I think that's about the only way I can describe that. As we move forward here, we're going to be going for a few more minutes here. I appreciate everyone's attendance who has any interest in this. This has been a really great few minutes for me. I want to wrap this up strong. There's going to be a lot more episodes on me kind of diving into bulk Lego and the methods of the madness that I have of sorting these elements, such as things like these. I like using a specific aspect of an element to give it a compartmentalized home. So, like, this is a great example. I'm actually going to pull this one out because it is a home for 3 specific elements. I mentioned this earlier, but I kind of want to just give you a really rad example. You can kind of take a look at it right here. The name of this container, in my mind, is 1x2 Technic bricks. Period. 1x2 Technic bricks. So that means any 1x2 brick that has Technic accessibility or adaptability, whatever the word is. These are the 3. It's the axle hole, the pinhole, and the double pinhole. And so every one of those in the same color and any of those variations are going to go in this container. And then anything else, every other Technic brick that I have goes in this one. As you can see, this is a project that I need to level up. I need to get a bigger container, put all this in there, and then this one will be empty, ready for another element. So much to talk about with Lego. It's a never-ending topic. So it's going to be my never-ending pleasure to be able to have the privilege to just talk with y'all, whoever wants to listen. I'm trying to think of a couple more notes that I wanted to mention about this episode before we call it a day. Maybe baggies, Ziploc baggies. I have a whole drawer for baggies, Ziploc baggies of specifically small sizes. These are going to be a huge asset to you when getting at the beginning, the intermediate, and the end of your organizing careers endeavors, because you literally get to decide. This is just a guideline. I just want to give you an example of how I kind of have a couple of things in bulk in baggies. This is a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a hint to something I'm going to be doing in the future. But I really like this because it's set aside because it's something I want to be aware of all the time. But this is a little baggie filled with the old school pirate flintlock pistols and muskets. And these are going to be very much so featured in a very large build that I do in the future. And so, yeah, I mean, I mentioned a lot of the different containers that I wanted to. I guess with this, the last few minutes I have here, there's a few other containers that are super awesome, but I think I, subconsciously saved these for last because these are in the farthest end of the spectrum, very rare and valuable. So not going to be something you're going to be trying to get to use and sort Lego that is like that, because these are going to cost money and take time to find. There is a brand called Iris. They had a specific collaboration with Lego that created these incredible, awesome Lego modular drawers that have tons of capability to them to hold Lego in all kinds of fashions. These are a lot of my plates, base plates, I should say. That's a very specific element. You can't connect anything to the bottom of it, and it's 1/2 the width of a plate. And these are super cool. I absolutely adore these because the way they stack is modular. You can separate them and make 2 different rows or one really tall one, and that's actually what I have. I've got 2 different rows of these. And you can really just get things stored really nicely. These are going to cost some money, and again, they're going to be hard to find, but they're literally a Lego brand Iris collab. Both of the logos are there. And they have multiple variations. Those are the kind of a bulk box top flip clipper or whatever. And then these I'm about to show you are a very rare, in my opinion. I can't believe I have these, but these are multiple stacking drawer. These are very special, and this is what allows me to get a lot done. Again, it's that Lego Iris brand drawer, double deep, and it has these 2 you can remove. Here's one. I'll set that to the side. And here's another one that I can pull out from the drawer. Now, this is so amazing. These are a lot of my special prints, like I mentioned before earlier. Very special. We'll probably have an entire episode on just this. That's going to go back away. A little spoiler alert there. Sometimes these can be a little trick to get back in there without things going crazy, but you'll get the trick of it, holding it down the middle, kind of dropping it like that. But yeah, these are very special. There's actually 2 more drawers of these that we're not going to look at right now, because I want to mention one last thing before the end. Another very special Lego brand unit drawer system that I got from I can't actually get the drawer down, but it's a wooden drawer thing box that has 4 of these in there with nice little drawers. 100% Lego brand, and you can just get stuff done and get yourself organized, and again, ready to create with complete clarity and freedom to create a pumpkin man or a crazy wizard or a robot or a monster or a pack of dogs, or whatever the imagination can come up with. I've got a couple of my really cool anime dudes there. We'll do a whole episode on those guys. But that's about it, y'all. I'm so glad whoever watched this, hopefully maybe learned a thing or two. Again, sorry if the video quality wasn't up to par, but this is just kind of how it's going to be for a little bit for me. I'm not worried about it. I really want this content and my voice to get out there, and that's all I really care about. Because I love Lego, I'm really passionate about it, and all of the other hobbies that I have that will come in time. We're going to have a lot of episodes about those. And time, of course. And I'm thinking I'm going to have sub-channels where I'll have, the main channel will be really focused on Lego, but then I'll have a sub-channel that will, get maybe 1 or 2 videos a week of, like I mentioned in the first video, cards, action figures that aren't Lego, and a whole plethora of collectibles that I know everyone adores. I have a massive collection of amiibos, just kind of going through those, looking at them, dusting them off, talking about them, I think would be fun, and where I got them and stuff like that. So this is the end. Thank you so much. I remember my little thing for the end is going to be, this space is going to be a creative space to bring people together, have and talk about ideas, and just have fun. So thanks again for participating in this very funky and rough draft content of my Lego channel and hobby channel of Oceans Entertainment. So again, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode real soon. Thank you so much. I'm going to kind of let this one drag out a little bit because I learned that if I close it too early, it's going to cut off my video. So I'm just going to let it drag out a little bit there, and then in the future, hopefully edit it down. But yeah, thank you so much. We're going to do a lot more bulk sorting in the future. If anyone cares to comment on anything they did like or didn't like, or want to hear or don't want to hear, please do that. That would be so cool, because this is a space where I want to have topics about Lego and hobbies talked about that you want to hear about, not just I want to talk about. So again, thank you again. Looking forward to the next time we can just have fun. Thanks again. Take care.